big mop of black hair. The fastest thing you've ever seen as a fullback. Incredible skills.
My name is Harry Williams. My people are Wiradjuri on my father's side and Yorta Yorta on my mother's side. I had the privilege of being the first Indigenous player to play in a soccer World Cup. I became involved in the game through a friend of mine. I lived across the road, we went to school together, primary school, and we went down to a training session and had a lot of fun, kicked the ball around and really enjoyed it. I loved a lot of the sports that I played and participated in, but soccer was something that I fell in love with, and that continued all the way through my young days into adult days, and by the time I was 17, 18, it became quite a serious thing for me. Junior days I played for a club called St George Police Boys Club, and then later in my teens it was at Peakhurst United. They were newly formed when I was about 14, 15. From there it was a natural progression to then go into grade football. So the time I finished school and left school and went out and worked, I was ready to play in senior football. I was picked up by a scout from Western Suburbs Football Club, and he invited me along to training, and I had a trial and was selected in their third grade side. And that was a transition from schoolboys and from junior football into senior football. I played a season with Western Suburbs. I decided that the following year I would try and get into a club that was closer to home, and that was St George Budapest, they were based just a suburb away from where I lived.
Harry was very agile, very quick for his time. He was an overlapping fullback, had all the attributes, and this is in a time where things were very tough in the game. A lot of hard tackling, a lot of sledging, not a lot of political correctness, so he did it fairly hard. Great ball control and a great shot as well. Harry was always very quick to recover and be supportive of the goalkeeper at the back, so he's made the run, and the look on his eye, I'm not quite sure whether he's aiming for the ball or me there, but he's done a good job in recovering and getting back.
I still say that Harry was just the fastest thing on two legs, and as I said, as a fullback, incredible skills. They gave him the nickname Fancy Nancy at St George, so of his skill level. But as I said, I think, and his longevity in the game was his professionalism, and that he was really committed to the game, and that showed. As I said, the long time that he played the game.
In 1970 was when I was selected for the national side. That was the beginning of the process for building the next World Cup squad for 74. I joined St George in 1970, and I was fortunate enough to play in their third grade side, a little bit later in the season in the reserves side. And right at the end, the last half a dozen games, I had the opportunity to play in the senior team, in first grade team. From that handful of games, I was selected in the national side. So it was a fairly short period of time to go from third grade through to first grade to the national side.
Manfred Schaefer, Adrian Alston, Mike Denton, Jimmy Fraser, Alan Ainsley, Johnny Warren. This was the team of the century, if you like, as far as the glamour team of Australian football. That World Tour in 1970 laid the foundations for the 1974 World Cup squad. They played something like 28 games. Rally Rasic, as a young coach, was the coach of that team. They beat Greece, they beat Israel, they beat Luton Town in England. And they, as I said, laid the foundations for that 1974 World Cup qualifications, of which Harry played such an integral part.
Yeah, Jimmy Mackay scored the winner. He hit a beautiful shot from about 20-25 metres out, and it just flew into the top corner of the net. So we were pretty excited, and I was sitting on the bench, and it was just like mayhem. We threw our arms up, we were hugging each other, and it was a pretty exciting time. And I think we only had like about 20 minutes to go or so, and we were pretty excited. And so we still had the rest of the game just to contain ourselves and for the players to settle, and we held out and qualified. Everyone was excited. The house was abuzz. People were coming around and congratulating me and so on. I think I found out through a friend that I was selected. I was a bit stunned at first, but once I realised that I was selected, it was I couldn't wait to get on that plane. To be a part of the 1974 World Cup side, going to Germany, it was like a dream come true. It's something that we all aspired to, and something that we dreamt about, and to realise that, it was pretty exciting. It's hard to describe.
These soccer players in Australia's national strip of gold and green are known as the Socceroos, and in the space of 14 months they've waltzed their way into the finals of the World Football Championship in West Germany.
Well, Harry was Harry. He was just part of the team, and he wasn't really treated any differently from that, apart from if he was led gracefully on the field, and then there was some evening up, so to speak. And he handled it very well, actually, for a young man, and he's a sensitive person. He handled it very well.
Yeah, I think back in my day, back in the 70s, I don't think we really used the word racism, but there was a lot of niggling and name calling, but it was more about gamesmanship and putting you off your game.
Was racism evident in soccer during the 60s and the 70s on into the 80s? I'd say it was, unquestionably. What was the level of that subjected, say, by a player like Harry Williams? There was banter, certainly, and that's certainly evident in the records of even the people that he played with the Socceroos, and probably was the same case with St George. I think that people like Adrian Alston would say, you have to step out of the shadows, we can't see you, or can you smile in the dark so we know where you are? But Harry, in comment, would also say to a player like Adrian Alston, as a pommy, how long is it since you've had a bath? Now, you pommies don't like a bath, so there was that sort of banter and reply in regards to that.
The night before a World Cup match, you can never get to sleep. Harry is a nutcase on crosswords. And one night we were playing against Iran the next day, get a shake on the shoulder, 3 o'clock in the morning, said, "What's wrong, mate?" He went, "What's a 5-letter word for?" I said, "You're kidding." The next day I said to him, "Mate, what are you doing?" He said, "Listen, I don't like you." He said, "The only reason you're in my room is because you can spell," which is typical Harry.
Harry Williams was, if you like, a trailblazer for the current crop of Aboriginal soccer players that have come through. But I also think it's sadly that his achievements were overlooked and not promoted. I don't think many of the players would probably be even aware of Harry, what he achieved, as a player. Harry Williams' inclusion in the 1974 World Cup squad to West Germany, as it was then, was massive for an Indigenous sportsman to achieve that level of selection. Remember, we're talking about the Soccer World Cup. Bigger than the Olympic Games as far as a global audience is concerned.
Looking back over my career, now that I'm in my twilight years, I think it's a culmination, it's an accumulation of all those things I've achieved, and pulling on the green and gold, there's no better feeling.